So, for those of you who may not have heard of this particular case, this is Phoebe Bishop. She is a 17-year-old from Queensland, which is in the northern part of Australia. She went missing on the 15th of May, having been apparently dropped off in the vicinity of Bundaberg Airport with the intention of flying from Bundaberg to Brisbane and then from Brisbane to Western Australia. Quite a big flight for a young 17-year-old. She had actually saved up her money for this flight. And because this is essentially a flight that goes from one side of the country to the other, it's like 5.5 hours, it wouldn't have been a cheap flight. So it seems highly unlikely that she wouldn't have intentionally missed her flight. Now, the information that we were given is that she was dropped off at a particular location on Airport Road, approaching Bundaberg Airport. One of my wonderful subscribers, who is quite knowledgeable about all things Australia, has informed me that the location where she was dropped off was over a kilometre from the airport. In terms of miles, that is roughly 0.6 of a mile minimum. Bundaberg Police are actually saying that she was last seen at that location with her luggage. However, we know that they are treating the car owned by one of her flatmates and the residence of her flatmates as crime scenes. In terms of any additional information, they've been quite tight-lipped. However, I have found there is a news report from ABC News, which I will play, which offers a little bit more clarity perhaps. And I've also found an article which discusses the housemates and seems to offer a little bit more clarity in terms of the timeline. So let's start by looking at this news feature from ABC News.
A normally quiet street in Gin, now a flurry of action as police search for any clues trying to find Phoebe Bishop.
The last 3 days, forensics have been, so pulling stuff in and out of the house, so been full on.
So it's definitely significant that forensics have been there for that amount of time. That means that they definitely are looking closely at the house. And as mentioned, the house has been named as a crime scene, essentially. So she's also mentioned here that they've been taking a lot of stuff in and out of the house. So it sounds like they have quite a lot of forensic evidence that they have found at that house.
The 17-year-old was last spotted near Bundaberg Airport a week ago. She was supposed to board a flight to Western Australia but never checked in and hasn't been seen or heard from since. Her home remains a crime scene. She was living there with 2 people. One of their cars has been seized by police.
I didn't know she was actually living there. I thought she was just, visiting them, but to find that she actually lived there was pretty surprising, actually.
The teenager's disappearance has stunned the Gin community, home to about 1,000 people.
We're just hoping they find the little girl alive, that's all.
Her mum is holding on to hope her daughter is okay. Fee is still missing. Our heartache and pain is raw and real. Fee, we need you home. We need to hear your sassy voice and feel your hugs.
I know it's day 7, but I do hope that something's gone wrong and she's just taken the wrong track or something.
It's human nature to be hopeful for a positive outcome, but everything we're hearing really doesn't look like we're going to get a positive outcome from this case. And my heart breaks for her family and for the locals, because when these kind of things do happen in a small town like that, it is something that affects everyone.
Police are trying to piece together a timeline of Phoebe's movements prior to her disappearance last Thursday. They're appealing for anyone with information, even if it seems insignificant, to come forward. She was last seen carrying luggage, which police are yet to find. Johanna Marie, ABC News, Gin.
So they're certainly covering all bases in terms of trying to locate Phoebe. Now, I'm just going to comment on the vehicle. Being a Hyundai and looking like a somewhat newer model, I would imagine that one of the things now that they've got that vehicle is that they will be looking at vehicle forensics. They will be looking at GPS data from that vehicle. Depending on how new it is, I know that the newer Hyundais do have GPS in them, so that could be helpful. Also, there are other things that basically can be discovered through forensics with the vehicles. So they will be looking at what devices connected to that vehicle, and in terms of what devices connected, it's not just going to be devices that basically chose to connect. What happens with these vehicles is that they will record every device that is within range. So that will give officers, another direction to look at. I wouldn't be surprised if they have, in fact, taken the mobile devices of both the housemates to look at GPS data, which may also help in locating Phoebe and or her luggage. So there's also a news article that I wanted to go through, and that clarifies some of the information that's been given and also discusses the housemates. Okay, so I'm just going to acknowledge that this article is from Sky News. They are mostly credible, but they do tend to lean towards sensationalism. I'm going with this article because they have at least identified the housemates, and they do seem to have clarified some of the information. It's ironic that mainstream media accuse YouTubers of clickbait, but here we have a title, Neighbour Makes Wild Claims about couple Phoebe Bishop lived with and drove to the airport with before suspicious disappearance from Bundaberg. So, if that's not a clickbait headline, what is? Now, I should clarify, of course, while this couple has been identified, while their house is a crime scene and their car is considered a crime scene and has been seized, they are, of course, still considered to be innocent and uninvolved. We have not heard anything to the opposite of that from detectives, but, we still need to have a look at them, I think. So I'm going to read through this article. I'm just going to point out that what I'm reading here is not my opinion that's being shared. This is information being shared from a news source. So the couple, missing teenager Phoebe Bishop, had been living with on a regional Queensland property prior to her disappearance, have been identified. Wow. Decent journalism is dead. There is not a single comma anywhere in that sentence. Good one. Phoebe, 17, now we're getting there, was last seen at Airport Drive, Bundaberg, about 8:30am on May 15th with luggage. Very basic sentence structures, I have to say. Sorry, I shouldn't be so critical, but if you are going to be putting out news articles as a mainstream media outlet, then you might want to look at the calibre of your journalists. She was scheduled to fly to from Bundaberg to Western Australia via Brisbane, but failed to board her flight. During a press conference on Wednesday afternoon, police revealed CCTV footage from the airport showed the teen had never entered the terminal. Detective Acting Inspector Ryan Thompson confirmed Phoebe was not residing with direct family members, but two people she has been living with for a while. He added she was dropped off at the airport by one of the two people she had been living with in the town of Gingin, west of Bundaberg. Police are also currently probing reports the 17-year-old was arguing with the driver on her way to the airport and was kicked out of the car before going missing, which is what I speculated in my previous video, given that they were suggesting that she had been dropped off but not at the terminal, and now we find that it's, over a kilometre away from the terminal where she was supposedly dropped off. Inspector Thompson said the reported conflict is forming part of the investigation. After nearly more than a week, is that even grammatically correct? It either is more than a week, or it's a week, or it's less than a week. It can't be nearly. Anyway, police declared Phoebe's disappearance as suspicious on Wednesday and set up two crime scenes at the property she'd been living in and a grey Hyundai iX35 with Queensland plates 414EW3. She is believed to have been travelling into the airport. On Thursday, Daily Mail Australia identified the couple Phoebe was living with on the Gingin property as James Wood and Tanika Bromley. Tanika is reportedly the owner of the grey Hyundai. Police previously confirmed Phoebe's flatmates were cooperating with officers and have provided detailed accounts. So that is basically saying they have been questioned extensively with regards to what happened to Phoebe. The couple told police they dropped the teen off at the airport with luggage, but Inspector Thompson confirmed officers are confident Phoebe never made it to the airport. Okay, so I just want to comment on that. They are saying they dropped the teen off at the airport with luggage. So the fact that it's supposedly both of them, they're claiming they did that, that is quite often what you hear with made-up narratives. When people have basically come up with a narrative together, come up with an alibi together, it's no longer I did this, I did that, but it's we did this, we did that. So I find it interesting that two people would be needed to drop her off at the airport, given that she's only been living with him for so many months as it is. So why, unless they were planning on going somewhere afterwards. So yes, it does call the whole thing into question, especially with them saying that they're confident Phoebe never made it to the airport. That doesn't mean that she didn't make it as far as Airport Drive. What they're referring to there is the terminal, which is further along. The couple's neighbour, Sherry Lachlan, told the Daily Mail on Thursday that Phoebe had only been living at the Gingin address for a few weeks, up to a month or two. I'm just going to say, she did say in the news report that she had no idea that Phoebe had been living there. So I think she's trying to give extra information to media that she may not necessarily be as knowledgeable about as she would let you know. Ms. Lachlan further added Phoebe came in and out of the home a couple of times, but she had no idea the teen was living on the property until the news of her disappearance. Okay, so maybe that makes sense, what she's saying there. So maybe she's meaning she'd seen her in and out of the property for between a few weeks and a month or two. She described the experience of living next door to her neighbours as horrible due to noise from parties According to the outlet, last week Ms Lachlan made a complaint to council and RSPCA about their howling dog. She further claimed the remains of up to 11 dogs had reportedly been found at the property during police inquiries. Well, let's take that as hearsay at this point in time. They moved in late October or November, and then it's just gotten more and more cluttered with rubbish, Ms Lachlan told the publication. It was for sale. I don't think they actually own it. Okay, so just summarising these bits. So they're saying that Mr Woods, the guy, is divorced and moved there from 500 kilometres west about 6 months ago after his marriage ended, and Miss Bromley is a Gingin local and a mother of 2 who apparently doesn't appear to have her kids living with her, so that's certainly interesting. Mr Woods confirmed his relationship status with Ms Bromley on social media in October last year, and they reportedly moved in together earlier this year. Okay, they were both questioned by police but later released. And, that's the norm. They're not going to press charges unless they've got something really solid. So no charges have yet been laid in relation to Phoebe's disappearance, and Sky News makes no suggestion Mr Wood and Ms Bromley were involved in Phoebe's disappearance. Although, it really doesn't look so promising right now with regards to them. The 17-year-old's phone and social media accounts have been inactive since she went missing, and her bank account has not been used since May 14th, which is the day before she went missing. According to close family members, the teen was on her way to meet her boyfriend in Western Australia, who she spoke to on the phone before she vanished. When asked by media whether police believe Phoebe is still alive, Inspector Thompson said, "Investigators are keeping an open mind for now. We are certainly hopeful that she is still alive." Now, as you know, normally I'm someone who likes to avoid making assumptions based on appearance and stuff like that. I'm just going to say, looking by the look on this guy's face, if I were to come across him in the supermarket aisle or on the street, you bet I would avoid eye contact, and I would make sure I went along my merry way and didn't interact with him in any way. His girlfriend, she looks respectable enough, but I do have to question someone who would clearly leave her children in order to just move in with another man. So there's still very little information coming out. We haven't really got much more knowledge of what went on than what we did a few days ago. But I really hope that they are able to resolve this soon. I would like to say I hope that they find Phoebe and she's safe, but I'm not feeling overly confident about that at all. Particularly not when you read between the lines of what is being said by Queensland Police. So I feel sorry for her family, and I just hope that she is found soon, regardless of what the situation is. So, on that note, I'm going to finish there. Thank you for listening. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. Of course, also please hit the like button and leave a comment below, and I will catch you in the next one.